Wait a second, did Valve actually fix Team Fortress 2? After another massive petition calling for action against the bots who've been plaguing almost every server in the game, they're now seemingly starting to disappear. For the first time in a very long time, you can actually play the game. But did Valve really listen to us? Will this fix actually last? And what does it mean for the rest of their games, including their brand new upcoming title, Deadlock?
Before we get into today's video, I want to thank our partner, Acer. Are you looking for a next-gen laptop that lets you work and play from anywhere? Predator Helios Neo 16 laptop is equipped with a GeForce RTX graphics card and an Intel Core i9 processor and a juicy 400 nits display that runs at an incredible 165 Hz. So lag will be someone else's problem instead. And that's not to mention all the other perks, such as the 5th gen Aeroblade 3D fan and the AI-assisted noise cancellation that makes this laptop not just powerful, but smooth as hell too. You can check out the Predator Helios Neo 16 over at bestbuy.com using the link in the description.
For around 5 years now, Team Fortress 2 has been nearly unplayable. This is partially because back in 2020, the source code for both CSGO and TF2 were leaked. This caused a massive panic throughout the community because it meant that bad actors now had easy access to the tools they needed to create cheats and hack the game, which is exactly what they did. And for TF2 in particular, this birthed the bot problem. Essentially, hackers were able to create and or host these massive bot farms that fill entire servers and ruin the player experience. Not just because they aren't real people, but because also some of them have cheats. Instead of standing in place or wandering around aimlessly, they take up the sniper class and, well, like I said, you can't even play the game.
Does TF2 have a botting problem? Yeah.
For my Counter-Strike heads out there, this may seem familiar. We too have this issue. In fact, not too long ago, I did a video covering a massive bot farm that was uncovered in China. A room filled with computers running dozens and dozens of instances of CS2. And in that same video, I talk about how for years, bots were disrupting a lot of CSGO's auxiliary game modes, like Arms Race and Flying Scoutsman. However, the difference with TF2 is that their bot problem wasn't exclusive to just a few game modes. It was nearly every single server in the casual mode, the main way that people play the game. TF2 content creator Zesty Jesus even went to extreme lengths to uncover exactly how bad this problem is and what's really going on. Now, similar to Counter-Strike, a lot of these bots are just idling to farm drops. These are usually massive networks that operate like services or even flip the items themselves. But in order to get a better idea of just how many there might actually be in the game, Zesty ran an insane experiment that allowed him to see just over 1,400 TF2 Steam accounts. Nearly 1,000 of those were obvious bots.
Out of the 1,402 gift-a-pulse, you want to guess how many went to bots? I'll give you a second to think of a number, and I'll publish my data in a pinned comment down below so you can look for yourself. 996 went to bots, which is almost exactly 71% of my sample size.
Now, the other portion of bots are the cheating bots I mentioned, the ones that headshot you as soon as you show your face to them. These are the more annoying ones the public has to deal with, but as Zesty said, only one piece of this puzzle. Make sure you go to his channel to check out his hard work if you want to know just how deep this problem goes. Anyway, like I said, this crisis has been going on for years, with the community crying out for Valve to do something, but as per usual, it fell on deaf ears. Eventually, TF2 made it to FACEIT, and with their own anti-cheat, there was finally a little bit of respite. You could actually play the game without dealing with bots, and it helped me get back into the game. But unfortunately, it didn't last long. There are plenty of reasons as to why, and fans have pointed them out, but a lot of it boils down to the fact that FACEIT just doesn't mesh well with the core values of Team Fortress 2. TF2 is a fun, casual experience, but FACEIT had prizes and competitions that made it overly competitive and favored abusing broken metas that just weren't fun. So eventually, the player base on FACEIT started to dwindle and it was back to the drawing board. This brings us to May of 2022 when fans famously created the hashtag called Save TF2. It actually went pretty damn viral, getting mainstream attention and the #1 trending spot on Twitter.
When you mention Team Fortress 2 to Valve, it's like they have dementia and don't know what you're talking about. They do their best to forget they ever made this game. It's like they're ashamed of it, almost.
Their idea was to basically spam the out of TF2 across the internet. Show the world and show Valve how much this game means to them in the hopes that the developers might actually do something. It was pushed as a peaceful protest because, after all, fans didn't want to hate Valve. They created this game we love, a game that's so special and influential to the FPS and hero shooter genre. We just didn't want to see it die, and Valve was the only ones that could do something about it. And they did do something. Save TF2 got a response out of Valve, and they took measures to remove the bots. But it didn't last. The bots eventually returned, pushing TF2 back into an unplayable state. Valve, just to shut us up and incentivize people to stick around for the next microtransaction-filled update, cobbled together a band-aid solution. This went on for what feels like forever until last month when the Save TF2 community created a new movement, this time called Fix TF2. And this time, instead of sharing positivity about the game, fans were going to flood the internet with content showing just how bad the game's current state is, while heavily criticizing Valve for their abhorrent neglect. And at the time of recording this video, the petition has gained nearly 350,000 signatures. Enough was enough. No one could fathom why Valve wasn't doing anything to fix this game while still allowing people to spend money on it. Well, the answer was obvious. They were still making money without actually needing to put any work in. It's that simple. It was at the point where the petition itself said, quote, TF2 isn't dying, it's being intentionally killed. And with many reports suggesting just a single contractor is actually working on the game, it does kind of feel that way. But unlike Save TF2, there was no response from Valve this time. No tweet, no band-aid fix, nothing. That was until late last week when something crazy happened. The bots started getting banned. Casual servers were actually playable, and it seemed like thousands and thousands of bots were getting banned. At the same time, there was a similar thing happening in CS2 with a substantial drop in players who many suspected were bot accounts. So people started wondering if maybe Valve actually listened to the community, that Fix TF2 was working. And while that is a nice thought, I and some other content creators out there think that this might actually just be really good timing. Now, don't get me wrong, this is Valve's doing. It's not like the people controlling the bots just got bored and left. Now, they obviously never communicated anything to us, but Valve did something. And I just don't know if Fix TF2 actually pushed them to do it. Yes, Valve is definitely aware that people aren't happy, and I'm sure they saw the petition. But the time between this massive ban wave and the start of that petition just wasn't really that long.
Without evidence or direct confirmation from anyone at Valve, mind you, so take this with a grain of salt, is that Valve has been working on this system for quite some time now. We don't know exactly how long, but a response this pervasive certainly doesn't reflect less than 3 weeks worth of work in reaction to Fix TF2.
But the question still remains, why so conveniently now? Well, as I hope I've thoroughly highlighted, both CS2 and TF2 are a little worse for wear right now. The bot issue is only getting worse in CS2, and that's compounded with the brutal cheating epidemic. So Valve has been facing negative PR on multiple fronts for a long time now, which is not good for business. And call me optimistic, I've long suspected that they've been working behind the scenes to make fixes. And aside from wanting to protect their moneymakers, I now believe this might also have to do with Deadlock. Yes, Valve is working on a brand new hero shooter called Deadlock that faced some pretty substantial leaks recently. And this is a very big deal. Valve doesn't make games very often, and we are now getting a brand new competitive IP. But what if Deadlock is susceptible to the bots and cheaters? The exact same things that have pretty much been killing their 2 other games. Bots in TF2 and the cheating problem in CS. Maybe Valve just couldn't risk it happening to yet another game, so they finally took action. Which, if true, still isn't a good thing. I mean, to wait for things to get this bad while still collecting millions, if not billions from your player base, is pretty f***ed up. And the fact that they are working on a whole new game to sell us more cosmetics while seemingly neglecting their 2 other fan bases is wild behavior. It's unforgivable. But for the time being, you can play TF2 again. And from my own experience, it does seem like the bots in CS2's casual game modes have lessened as well. So, silver linings. I just hope this not only lasts, but gets even better. none of Valve's games are perfect. Some are doing worse than others, but maybe this was their first real step towards improving the player experience across all of their titles. As we all know, Valve moves in silence, so we'll probably never know what they're up to, but hopefully anti-cheat is next. Now, at this moment, the Fix TF2 petition is currently closed, and they, along with the rest of the community, are aware that the bot crisis is seemingly improving. Though, they are prepared in case things revert, calling this time for a monetary boycott of the game, which, if you've seen any of my CS2 cheating videos from the beginning, is the only way we're ever going to force Valve's hand. But this time, if the bots do come back, I don't know if TF2 will ever recover. Listen, it's a fantastic game, one of the best shooters of all time, but a fan base can only deal with this for so long. At some point, we might have to let go.